Hey guys, my name is Matthew Hengst and I am a long-distance hiker, ex-IT person who these days lives in a conversion van. So about 2 years ago, my girlfriend and I decided we were going to give up our apartment. Basically, we were planning to do the PCT and we had a bunch of other out-of-area things we wanted to do, and we decided it would be a lot easier to do those if we didn't have an apartment weighing us down. We ended up finding this van on Craigslist. It had already been converted and we basically fell in love with the woodwork that you can see there. In addition, the big thing I wanted, my girlfriend was a lot more flexible, was something that had solar so that I could charge my phone and my laptop as we were living out of it, because that was the big concern I had moving out of an apartment. Unfortunately, after just a couple of weeks, we had an extended storm that ended up running the AGM batteries down all the way. And in the course of looking at replacing those, we made some discoveries that led us to conclude that the solar system as it had been wired was a massive fire risk, so we had to rip everything out. As usual, it's usually harder to fix something that's been done badly than it is to do it from scratch. And since this van is already converted, it wasn't super trivial to run the wires. There wasn't really a good spot to host a bank of batteries or any of that stuff. So after looking at all the options, we came to the conclusion that a full-blown solar system was out of our price range, out of our skill set, and was going to take way too much time considering, we're busy folks. We're always in and out of town. So that led me to research power stations. If you're not familiar with them, power stations are basically giant batteries that have an inverter and all sorts of cool things built into one little package. So as I dug into it, it looked like the power station was almost an ideal solution for us. A smaller footprint, the fact that we could buy just the one component instead of having to put out a couple of $1,000s getting the entire thing, the fact we didn't need to figure out where to host a whole bank of batteries, just the simplicity. I mean, it was basically drop it in and turn it on and it works. And then the other big thing is the fact that we could recharge it off of a wall plug. So if we didn't want to do solar right away, that would let us basically have this period where we would just periodically charge it off a wall, and we can add the panels whenever we can swing it. So I basically got the opportunity to gear test a Bullbat Pioneer 500 power station, and that became our solution. So in addition to wanting to charge electronics, the big thing that we wanted to power were basically lights. That pop top has a bunch of these little LED lights that are rigged into it. They were originally connected to the main car battery. The problem is we're parked for, a week or two at a time sometimes, and if you run those off the main car battery, you can run the main car battery down, which we've done also. It took us a little bit of digging around to figure out where the wire ran. I basically went on Amazon and bought this male cigarette lighter adapter. All we had to do was cut the wire that was going from the lights to the battery, and then connect that to the red, and then the black goes onto the frame because the wire was already grounded to the pop top. And with that, we were basically up and running. We are currently getting about 28 hours of runtime off of the power station when it is fully charged. Anecdotally, when I charged my phone, having my phone go from 0 to 90 took about 5% of the total battery capacity. I have also used it to charge my GoPro and my laptop, though I try and avoid that just because it's kind of inefficient. Per the math, the Pioneer is about 5 times one of those 20K batteries that we are carrying when we hike. The unit itself is very well constructed. It's about 12 pounds, so, works for those early morning workouts if you need it. Or if anybody breaks into your van, you could do some serious damage swinging that at your average mugger. The unit currently retails for $430, and you can get it on Amazon, as with everything. Just a single lithium battery of the recommended type, Battleborn, is going to run you about $800. So then you add the inverters and everything else on top of that, and you're talking a lot of money really quick. My only real hesitancy with the model that we have is that it's just has a capacity of 500. They do have bigger ones that go 800. Thing is, with batteries, basically the bigger the capacity, the bigger the price, and it's a linear relationship, so there is no real sweet spot where to get them, and they get really heavy really quick. Some of the higher capacity models I looked at actually came with their own cart, so you could wheel them around because they were so heavy, and that wouldn't really work for, going into a library to charge it for a couple of hours. The unit has both AC and DC ports. We try and stick to just the DC because once you're using the inverter and converting to AC, it gets really inefficient. It's a good option to have. It has 2 AC plugs, but it also has 2 USB-A, 2 USB-C, and the cigarette lighter port, which is the one that we use for our lights. It also has a DC in and a DC out. The DC in will be how we will charge it off of solar someday, and that's currently where the wall charger goes. And then, of course, it has a light, because everything needs a light, I guess. The unit is charged off of an AC brick. That is one little point of annoyance. I would have rather had the unit itself be a little bit bigger and maybe have the AC plug built into the unit so we didn't have another thing to keep track of, but you know, minor complaints. In the course of normal operations, the unit is completely silent. It does have a fan that will come on when it's really cooking along. Usually when we're charging is when we notice it, but even there, it's really quiet. What we're doing is we're just taking the battery into Gen School or someplace else with a wall plug, and in about 4 hours it's back up to capacity and we're good for another week and a half. Now, that's not really my ideal solution. I want to have solar charging it. That's our phase 2. That way we didn't have to spend all the money all at once. I've also looked at the options as far as getting a folding solar panel versus one of those, you know, hard panels like up there. Basically, if I had a folding panel, I could put it out, you know, around the van and get it in the sun no matter where we're parked. But then I have to deploy the panel and put it away when I'm not using it. And since we're not here a lot, I'm not sure that's the best solution. Ideally, I want to replace that. Ideally, I want to replace that rack and just get like a 160 watt solar panel and then wire it in. So even if it's not fully in the sun all day, it'll still trickle charge the Bullbat. And I think that'll probably be good for our uses. The good news is when we're ready to do that, it is basically just going to be plug and play. There is a DC in port that will accept panels up to 160 watts. And the Bullbat itself has maximum power point tracking, so it's actually more efficient than some of your garden variety boxes. Could we have gotten a generator? Maybe, but see, I hate generators with a burning passion, just like every right-minded person that stays in campgrounds like this. So we have been using it for a couple of months now. Basically, we run the lights nightly for a couple of hours, and then on rare occasions, I'll charge the phone or laptop or GoPro off of the battery. And with the capacity, that's been enough to give us about a week and a half. We've never run it dry yet. We are really looking forward to adding a solar panel at some point so that we don't have to take it in to charge. But you know, for the time being, this is working fine. Every week and a half, that's not a problem. Overall, I couldn't be happier with the unit. There are a couple of things. I mean, it's orange instead of green. And I do wish the AC adapter was integrated into the unit, but I could see how maybe that wouldn't work because of the heat aspect. And it is a nice size the way it is. So after about 2 months of heavy use, basically if it was to burst into flames outside of the van, and I still had the van, I would get another in a heartbeat.